Hey guys, not a flying video this time, which is new for us. Certainly, really enjoy putting flying videos together and showing people inside of the plane and some of our missions that we do. I know that I've always enjoyed and still do watching flying videos, and we enjoy showing people the general aviation scene. So these types of talking interviews where I'm just staring at a computer screen at myself, trying to figure out, do I stare at the camera light or do I stare at myself? I'll go back and forth because I don't really know what to do. These are new, and I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of them, but we've been getting a lot of questions and comments about, why did we go to a twin? Why do we move to Austin and such? But wanted to put a little video together and just talk about single versus twin and what our decision making process was. And apparently, that's like asking somebody if they're a Republican or a Democrat. There's a lot of views, a lot of opinions, and sometimes it feels like for me to be right, you have to be wrong. But that's been a fun discussion and has been good. So happy to share why we picked the twin and then just a couple shameless plugs for the Seneca. I think that's obviously the plane that we went with. So obviously I'm a fan, but I really am liking the Seneca for a number of reasons. And again, I don't sell Senecas. I don't benefit if you buy a Seneca, but or a twin. I don't care one way or the other. But I do think that it's fun to share the story and share a perspective on twin and share a perspective on Senecas, and anybody out there that's kind of thinking about it or debating. Just happy to have a discussion. Leave a comment. Let's chat about it. It's been fun. So why twins? And I'll fully admit a big part of it is because we used to do those milk run flights, Houston to Dallas and Dallas to Houston, whether it's for hockey games or Six Flags or whatever it's for. We did that trip a lot. And at night, the moment that you leave Dallas and you're going to Houston, it's black. And you remember on your way up that there were some nice fields that would be great spots if you had to set it down somewhere. But you also remember that there's a lot of spots that would not be great to set it down there. And there's one road that you could follow that if that's what you want to do. You don't want to, and you want to fly VFR and follow the road. But there's bridges, tunnels, lights, everything around it. So it's just, I did not feel comfortable on that trip flying at night. We had a brand new engine on our old single engine plane. It was just went through an Iran, spent like $25,000 getting all that squared apart, and felt really comfortable with the engine. There's no deferred maintenance, nothing like that. But flying at night, didn't like it. If we had an issue, I had no outs, and I always like to have outs, and to the point where it started to really kind of spook me, and I just wanted outs. So, by the way, you'll hear noises from your plane flying at night that you've never thought your plane ever made. And then you'll wonder what those are, and then you'll dwell on them, and then they just like sit with you, and then that kind of got under my skin a little bit, fully admit it. I'm not tougher than that or bolder than that. I didn't like not having that redundancy, and twin became a focus for me. The other things, so it's not just an engine, right? In a twin, we fly IMC, file IFR, and fly in the clouds. Without glass, we're depending on some gyros, and gyros need vacuums. And that twin engine, you have a second vacuum. Actually, our flight from when we ferried it back from Florida to Austin actually had a vacuum pump failure, and it was a non-event because you have a second vacuum that gives you the suction that you need, and everything stayed fine. We landed in Austin, brought it in, and sure enough, vacuum pump failed, and we got it fixed. Non-event. In a single, in our old Aero, that's a big deal. And if your IMC going into that partial panel is very stressful, and frankly, it's the cause of a lot of accidents. So you got redundancy there. Alternators, same thing. You've got two of them now, and That's again just a redundancy. Every single engine plane that I've bought, um, and there's been three of them: a Warrior, an Archer, and then an Arrow. When we started flying them a lot, all three of them lost their alternator within the first 3 to 4 months of flying them. So you get to be pretty proficient at alternator failures, but that's just what happens when you have a plane that's not flying much, and then you put it through the paces. But now I have two alternators, and this goes back to the mission, right? So if you're going to go up in a pattern and fly around and cut holes in the sky and just stay local to your airport, it's not really a big deal. You land, you get it fixed. The our missions, right? So why we have a twin is we want to do longer flights. We want to do cross country flights. We're Canadians living in Texas. We want to bring our kids snowboarding, and we want to go to the West for that. I don't want to be, far from home, 500 miles, 1,000 miles, and then not being able to complete an approach or shoot an approach or just get to where we're going, because of some of these failures, these common failures, frankly, these failures. So just having that redundancy is fantastic. Certainly, there's other ways to get redundancy, and I completely understand, but that was part of what we were thinking about. And no, I'm not going to take off with a failed alternator. It's just we're allowing us to complete the trip versus having to divert is kind of what I'm trying to say. So we got some redundancy in a twin. That's fantastic. Yes, you have fuel burn. That's, let's call it, doubled. But my view is that's okay. And by the way, it's not just fuel burn. It's your oil changes. It's your spark plugs. It's your exhaust. I mean, it's literally everything, maintenance wise. So that's a factor. Got to consider that. As far as fuel burn being double on a gallons per hour basis, I mean, literally that's probably true, but you're also moving a lot faster. So that kind of gets discounted a little bit. It's not a wash by any means, but it does get discounted, and then with the peace of mind that it gives me, I think that's fantastic. So I said peace of mind. Yes, twins can be and are at some phases of flight more dangerous than singles. Absolutely, there's been no shortage of horrible accidents with twins, or horrible near misses with twins. And a lot of that has to do around VMC roll, and I'm not going to talk about that in this video. That's not what the intention's for. But those are things that you can train for, overcome, stay proficient, and just be super aware of them and train for it. And that's just something that you have to do. That, in our opinion only, it's an opinion, is not a reason to stay in a single engine. Some people might say, I don't want to pay the fuel burn. I don't fly that far. I don't need to go that high. I don't need to carry that much weight. I'm good with a single. And that's awesome. Those are great reasons. For us, I don't feel that the risks that are introduced from a twin were reasons to not go to a twin. I'll kind of leave it at that. We've had some pretty heavy debates on that, and again, not in a hostile way. We welcome the discussion, and frankly, I learn from all of these discussions that we have. So again, I'm not saying don't have the discussion. I think we all get better from talking about general aviation and different planes and characteristics, especially those of us that don't do it for a living, right? I mean, having these conversations keeps it fresh, keeps it in our mind, and I'm learning every day in this space. Absolutely. So now, why Seneca? I had one more bullet point. See, I don't do these talking videos very well. I'll stick to flying and then editing and chopping out stuff. But one more bullet point was insurance. So yeah, insurance is brutal. As a new fresh twin pilot, multi-engine pilot, insurance is brutal. And I had some awesome people in my life that were helping me out with that to help me build time. And I'll put a little, I think I will, over in one of these corners. Check out their site. Fantastic CFI. You guys have seen Chad on some of these videos in the past, flying his Baron. So, Chad helped me out building some time, which helps with insurance. But I'm a multi-engine commercial pilot, and I think with about 50 hours when I was shopping for insurance of multi-time, no time in a Seneca, and my insurance premium was $6,000. And you just got to bite the bullet and do it for your first year and fly a ton, so that your second year, hopefully that number gets cut in half. But and for the sticker shock on 6,000, just know that there's a lot of people that can't even get insurance quotes or offers, or maybe you're getting like a $50,000 insurance bill, or quote, nobody's probably buying it. But insurance is a big deal, and before you even look at twins, start talking to an insurance broker. You can get an FAA certificate for multi-engine, but insurance is really the decision maker here. So get as much multi-engine time as you can. That certainly helps. And then time and type is the other one that will help you out too. So that was that with my comments on a twin. This video is getting longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. You guys can fast forward or skip or whatever. So why Seneca? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I'll give you like the big boulder or the big bold bullet points of our favorite characteristics of the Seneca. So the Piper Seneca is, we talked about VMC roll earlier, not in an instructional way. I just said the letters VMC and then added the word roll. But that has to do with a critical engine, and it has to do with the rotation of the prop, and that downward strike of the propeller is actually kind of giving you a lot of your P factor, your torque coming from there. And that being, if your left engine fails and your right engine is the one that's producing all of your power, and that is now that downward moment of the propeller is the furthest outboard of your fuselage, that gives you that torquing effect of the plane. And you may run out of rudder authority, or if you're too slow, you're not you personally too slow. Well, I guess you too, but I meant if your airspeed is too slow, that is where twins can get very dangerous, or that's where twins are very dangerous. The Seneca engineering, the design's brilliant, I think, personal opinion. The right engine is counter-rotating, meaning both of your engines are rotating. That downward strike of the propeller is, don't put those words together, strike and prop. But that downward rotation of the propeller on your right engine is actually moving towards the fuselage. Both of your propellers are moving towards the fuselage. And that reduces that, doesn't take it away. VMC roll is a big deal, don't get me wrong. But that reduces how dramatic of an event that is in a single engine failure. So Seneca is a great shout out for that. I love the counter rotating prop, and that really stuck with me. Again, it's all about building margin into what you're doing. And so why not have that extra margin, right? So that's fantastic with the counter rotating props. That's big. The other huge thing is when you're looking at a twin, single engine service ceiling. So there's some twin engine planes, multi-engine planes, that it won't stay in the air on one engine. So yeah, maybe it extends your glide time if you get everything right and you feather the right engine super quick and you reduce the drag right away. But it won't stay in the air with one engine, especially with density, altitude, or depending on your elevation. It's a problem. Well, the Seneca, I mean, you're over 16,000 feet for single engine service ceiling. So you got to know that, right? You're not invincible in a twin. If you're flying at 18, 19,000 feet and there's terrain below you and you lose an engine, you are going to descend. So you got to know where your plane will perform on a single engine. But for the most part, I mean, being honest, we're not flying that high all the time, right? So occasionally we got to get over terrain. We're moving a pregnant husky right now from Austin to New Mexico and then to Denver. And we're gonna start showing a lot more of those videos. By the way, I don't post a lot of them because it's just a lot of work and coordination, and there's other people involved usually because we're doing like little relays and stuff. But I'm gonna start asking folks if they're okay with us kind of filming and featuring them, because we do a lot of those missions, and my wife's amazing at rescuing dogs. We're constantly fostering. And I think we should talk about that because it's amazing work, and we should share that. So more to come on that. But single engine service ceiling, going west. We're planning that trip out right now, and there's spots where the train's over 12,000 feet, so we got to be higher than that to get around it, or literally go around it. But those are all things that you have to consider, and again, back to building margin. Single engine service ceiling on the Seneca, I'm very happy with it. 16,000 feet is fantastic. We're not going to loiter around single engine. We're going to land, but it's not an emergency. It's just something that you have to deal with. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. So yes, if I lose an engine while I'm flying, I will declare an emergency. I will find a runway and land. But it's not a, I don't know what word to say. It's a big deal. Declare an emergency, but you're able to fly on a single engine to get to a safe landing in an emergency situation. You don't have to jump out. How about that? All right. Enough said about that one. Cargo door. It's as close to an air stair as you're gonna get without having a ton of multi-engine time or a huge insurance bill. But that cargo door is awesome. It lets you put snowboards or kids or wives or whatever you want to do. It allows you to shove all that stuff in the back of that plane in a really big way, and it's fantastic. You're not having to crawl over seats coming in through the kind of the traditional way. So kids love it back there, wife loves it back there, and that cargo door is just such a game changer for it. So we love that. Seneca, turbocharged. I said I wanted to go higher, and we wanted to do snowboarding trips. Turbos on both engines. That's awesome. And I'm going to get flack for this, I guess. Not like some people level of flack because they say crazy things or they jump out of planes. But I'm going to get flack for it. But I'd be very weary to have a turbocharged aircraft without having FIKI, or at least having anti-icing or de-icing. So Seneca it's FIKI. We have a little tiny window plate, which I hope to never actually fully need, but it's there if we need it, and we always make sure it's working appropriately. But prop heat, obviously, that's important. Pitot heat, which if you saw my last video, that's obviously an important thing, and make sure your OAT isn't stuck on 8 degrees. So that was a thing. But prop heat, pitot heat, but boots. And again, nobody should launch into dangerous icing conditions. Severe icing is severe icing, and no planes are certified for, or probably shouldn't say that. This plane is not certified for first flying into severe icing conditions. And it's not meant to fly inside of any icing condition for a prolonged period of time. But if you're shooting an approach and you need to get down through a cloud layer, or if you need to climb and do a departure through a cloud layer, you can enter and exit clouds below freezing, and if you do accumulate ice, you've got some ice protection there. It's not invincible. You're not invincible, but you have some ice protection there. So again, our missions, we want to fly Texas to Canada a few times a year. We want to fly west up into the mountain area and go snowboarding and bring our kids out. Can't do that without those types of or I guess you could, but I don't want to do that without those types of protection. So Seneca, love that it is counter-rotating props. Love that it is FIKI and turbocharged. Again, we just think that's fantastic. The cargo door, though, that probably takes the cake. And you're moving fast. It's a great airframe. It's roomy inside. You're doing 170 knots true on 11 gallons a side, 22 gallons total. Fuel burn, you're doing 170 knots true airspeed. You can get up pretty high. It has built-in oxygen, so we can dangle some masks from the ceiling. It's all built in. Um, Comment on oxygen with kids, and I'm legitimately interested in other people's perspectives here, but what worries me about it is I know that I'll wear my oxygen mask, and I have an Apple Watch that tells me my oxygen level, and I have some pulse ox in my flight bag to be able to check oxygen levels of everybody on the plane. But I know I'm going to wear mine because I'm a responsible adult and I don't get distracted by shiny things or Nintendo Switches or whatever that may be. And with the kids sitting behind me, I'm nervous that while we're flying that they take off their masks because they take off their headsets. And I don't know what to do about making sure that doesn't happen beyond telling them. But they're 10 and 7 and um, yeah, so just curious about flying with kids. I am staying below altitudes for right now um, because I'm nervous about the kids taking their masks off and me having to kind of continuously check and see. But open for feedback there. Again, we don't really do these talking videos very much. Not really a fan of it, to be honest. I love talking about flying and our planes, but YouTube wise, pretty much prefer just kind of showing some videos about flying around and complaining about my audio panel, which we're working on getting that upgraded. So better videos to come on that. And again, leave a comment, reach out on Facebook. We'll try to do a better job. I'm not a huge fan of Messenger on Facebook. One more thing to check. But yeah, leave a comment. Happy to chat about your just any feedback or your perspectives, or dig into anything that I didn't really cover that you're curious about. Again, love talking about aviation, love talking about flying and twin singles, and learn more every time from the discussion. So that's that. And yeah, all right, fly safe, guys.